The leather belt cut through the air with a sickening crack, and time stopped. My 5-year-old son Owen's scream wasn't just pain. It was betrayal. Pure, innocent terror from a child who thought family meant safety. I dropped the laundry basket, my hands trembling as I watched my sister Valerie, the golden child, the perfect teacher, standing over my baby with that belt raised like a weapon. Orange juice pooled around Owen's tiny dinosaur socks, but all I could see was the angry red welt blooming across his shoulder blades. "What the hell are you doing?" The words tore from my throat as I lunged forward, ripping the belt from her manicured fingers so hard the leather sliced my palm. She didn't even flinch. Just stared at me with that cold superiority she'd perfected since childhood. "He disrespected my kitchen," she said, voice eerily calm. "Spilled juice everywhere and laughed about it." My world tilted. "He's 5, Valerie." But as I knelt beside Owen, watching him curl into himself, silent tears soaking his dinosaur shirt, I realized this wasn't about spilled juice. This was about power. And my family had just chosen their side. My name is Naomi. I'm 34, broke, and living in my parents' guest room after a brutal divorce. But that night, cradling my traumatized son, I learned something that would change everything. Protecting your child sometimes means destroying your family. When I confronted my mother under that crystal chandelier she never stopped bragging about, I expected outrage, horror, something. Instead, she sipped her Chardonnay and shrugged. "Don't make a mountain out of a molehill, Naomi. You call the cops, you'll ruin Valerie's career. She just got department head at Westlake Elementary." My blood turned to ice. "You care more about her job than your own grandson." Her silence was my answer. The next morning, Valerie acted like nothing happened, breezed into the kitchen with a $50 toy truck. Her pathetic attempt at buying Owen's silence. But I watched my son flinch when she touched him, saw his eyes calculate the threat in her belt loops. No child should have to make those calculations. That night, Owen woke up screaming, clawing at his blankets. "I'll be good, Mommy. Please don't let Auntie hurt me again." Something broke inside me. Not just my heart, my silence. At 5 a.m., with $317 in my account and everything we owned in garbage bags, I loaded my battered Corolla while my mother watched from the porch. "You're making a mistake," she called out. "Don't come crying when you're homeless again." I didn't look back. I had nothing left to lose, and everything to gain. The motel room smelled like bleach and desperation. But as Owen and I huddled on that sagging bed, the neon vacancy sign casting eerie shadows, I felt something I hadn't in years: clarity. I'd lived my whole life under their version of discipline. Slaps that stung, words that scarred, favoritism so blatant it left wounds deeper than bruises. But Valerie wasn't just dangerous to me anymore. She was dangerous to my son. Never again. The next weeks blurred together. Overnight shifts restocking shelves. Remote transcription work in the motel lobby while Owen slept in a fort of chairs. The night clerk Marcus, bless him, pretended not to notice when I smuggled breakfast cereal for Owen's dinner. But survival wasn't enough. Justice burned behind my eyes every time I saw those fading marks on Owen's back. I documented everything. Photos with timestamps, voice memos, screenshots of my mother's dismissive texts. "You blow everything out of proportion. Your sister was just correcting him." 3 weeks later, a knock at our door changed everything. Child Protective Services. Someone had filed an anonymous tip. Later, I'd learn it was Marcus, who'd overheard Owen's nightmares and seen his persistent fear of authority figures. I handed over my folder of evidence, even told them about Valerie dragging me downstairs by my hair when we were kids, what my mother called sibling rivalry. The investigation began like a slow-rolling storm. My mother tried interference, calling from new numbers. "You're being dramatic. Valerie could lose her teaching license." "She should," I replied, surprising myself with the steel in my voice. "You're destroying your own sister over a little spanking." "No, over assault on a 5-year-old. Valerie's reaction was more calculated. Tearful voicemails. carefully worded emails building a paper trail of remorse, like she expected them to be read by investigators. She was right. I forwarded every message to CPS. For weeks later, we faced each other in court. Valerie sat in cream-colored pearls, dabbing at dry eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. My mother flanked her in Chanel, shooting daggers across the room. They looked untouchable, respectable, perfect. But this time I wasn't alone. I had my advocate, my caseworker, and Owen's pediatrician confirming the belt marks were not accidental. When Valerie claimed she was protecting Owen from boiling water, I nearly laughed. Complete lie. Then my lawyer played the ace card. Security footage from my parents' kitchen camera, the one my father installed after a break-in that my mother had forgotten existed. The black and white video played silently. No boiling water. No danger. Just a 5-year-old accidentally spilling juice, and a grown woman deliberately retrieving a belt before returning to strike him. Valerie's face drained of color. My mother's mouth fell open. The judge ruled in my favor. Restraining order. School board report. Within weeks, Valerie lost her department head position and her teaching license was suspended. That night, my mother left a wine-slurred voicemail. "You've ruined this family. Don't ever expect our help again." I didn't cry over the court order. I cried when Owen smiled again. A real smile that reached his eyes for the first time in months. 2 years passed. 2 grueling, healing years that saw us move from that motel to a small subsidized apartment. Owen started kindergarten with teachers who understood gentle encouragement. He still tensed at the sound of belts, but no longer woke in cold sweats. I found work managing the children's section at our local library. Not glamorous but peaceful. Owen would paint our mailbox blue with his name in wobbly letters, a daily reminder of how far we'd come. I thought it was over until my mother appeared at the library, aged and bitter, wrapped in cashmere-like armor. "Can we talk?" she asked. "I'm working," I replied without turning. "I'm your mother." "No," I said, finally facing her. "You were Valerie's mother. I was just someone you raised to be quiet." She told me Valerie was struggling, drinking, lost everything. "You did that," she accused. "No," I said calmly. "She did that to herself. I just stopped covering for it." When she tried the family guilt, "Owen deserves to know his aunt," I delivered the final blow. "You know what Owen said when I told him Valerie wasn't allowed near him anymore?" He said, "Good. I don't want the belt lady to find me." Her facade cracked, revealing the real her. The woman who used to slam doors and tell me I was lucky to have a roof over my head. "Get out," I said quietly. "This is a place for children to feel safe." A week later, Valerie sent a handwritten letter. "I forgive you." Pages of self-pity about how losing her position was disproportionate punishment. I wrote back one sentence. "Forgiveness without accountability is just manipulation with better marketing." But the real victory came when that same school district invited me to speak at their annual safety training. My case had become a watershed moment in their reporting policies. My hands shook, but my voice didn't waver as I gave my presentation. When protection requires separation. Educators approached me afterward, some with tears, others with their own stories. A non-profit offered me a position developing resources for parents escaping family violence. I created the Owen Project, a support center where children could report family abuse without fear, where parents could find help without judgment. A year later, at our expansion ceremony, the mayor handed me ceremonial scissors. Owen wore a miniature button-down. I wore navy blazer and confidence that no longer needed validation. And there, at the back of the crowd, stood my mother. Lone. A shadow of her former self. She didn't wave. Just watched. I hadn't invited her, but I didn't stop the ceremony either. Because that day wasn't about her. It wasn't even about what Valerie had done. It was about every child who'd been told, "It's not that bad," while nursing wounds no one wanted to acknowledge. It was about Owen, who now built towering Lego structures without flinching when people walked behind him. It was about me, who finally, after a lifetime of silence, spoke loudly enough to be heard. As cameras flashed and the crowd applauded, I whispered to myself, "You survived, and that's what matters." Not revenge, not punishment, but rising from the ashes without letting them consume you. My sister beat my child with a belt. My mother defended her. But I built something stronger than their cruelty. A future, a voice, a refuge for those who had none. That's how you turn survival into victory. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's becoming everything they said you'd never be.